Emma Blake had never liked flying. Something about being 30,000 feet in the air, in a machine she couldn't control, made her chest tight. Still, she'd promised her sister she'd be there. No excuses. So here she was, buckled into seat 7C on Flight 417 from Seattle to Chicago, clutching a paperback she wasn't reading and pretending not to notice the slight rattle beneath her feet as the engines powered up. The plane hummed to life, lights dimming softly as flight attendants moved through the aisles, smiles perfectly rehearsed. Outside, the November rain streaked across the window, and the runway lights glowed like distant fireflies. Emma glanced toward the aisle seat where an older man in a navy jacket was scrolling through his phone, completely unfazed. People like that, people who trusted the sky. She leaned her head back and closed her eyes as the plane lifted off the runway, the vibration under her seat turning to a steady drone. Once the sign clicked off, she exhaled, trying to relax. The hum of conversations, the faint clink of soda cans, and the soothing voice of the captain over the intercom blended into a white noise lullaby. "Ladies and we've reached cruising altitude. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight." Emma smiled faintly. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. She slipped on her headphones, letting soft piano music fill her ears, and opened her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but her mind wandered to her sister Lily's wedding, to the white dress she'd helped pick out last spring, to the speech she still hadn't written. "Just make it funny," Lily had said, "and don't cry." Easier said than done. Emma always cried, especially when she was nervous. The sign blinked on again with a chime, mild turbulence. No big deal. Emma ignored it, glancing at the window. The clouds outside were a brilliant gold as sunlight pierced through gaps. The plane jolted once more, harder this time. A few gasps broke the calm, followed by a quick announcement. "Just a little rough air, folks. Please stay seated." Emma gripped the armrest but forced herself to breathe slowly. "It's fine. Happens all the time." She put her headphones back on, letting her eyelids droop. The hum of the engines, rhythmic and deep, lulled her into a half-sleep. Her breathing evened out. For a while, everything was peaceful, the quiet kind of peace that comes right before something breaks. Then it happened. A loud metallic thud echoed from the front of the plane, followed by the shrill ding of the sign again. The engines dipped in pitch. Emma's eyes flew open. The overhead lights flickered once, twice, and steadied. Passengers began looking around, murmuring. A flight attendant rushed down the aisle, her face pale. Another one followed, whispering something Emma couldn't catch. Her stomach twisted. The intercom crackled. There was a pause, then a male voice, trembling, not the calm tone pilots usually carried. "Ladies and," he said, breathing unevenly, "if there's anyone with flight experience, please make yourself known immediately." The words didn't make sense at first. A few passengers looked confused, even amused. Someone laughed nervously. But the captain's voice came again, this time sharp, strained, desperate. "Can anyone fly this plane?" The cabin went completely still. Every conversation, every whisper died in an instant. Emma's heart thudded painfully in her chest. The man beside her turned, eyes wide. Did he just say? "Yes," Emma whispered, her voice hollow. She glanced toward the front. Two flight attendants were bent over something or someone just outside the cockpit. Her throat tightened. The engine still rumbled, but everything inside the cabin felt wrong, like the air itself had changed. Emma's pulse raced as memories flickered unbidden. Her father's voice years ago in their old, teaching her how to keep level. Altitude, attitude, airspeed, Emma. The plane only listens if you do. She hadn't flown in over a decade. She wasn't even sure she could. But as she stared at the terrified faces around her, something deep inside shifted. An old, steadying calm she thought she'd buried long ago. Her fingers unbuckled her before she could second-guess it. The man beside her whispered, "Where are you going?" Emma stood, heart hammering. "I think," she said quietly, "I might be the only one who can help." And with that she started toward the cockpit, For a few seconds, Emma stood frozen in the aisle, unsure whether she was making the right choice or an insane one. The other passengers stared at her like she'd lost her mind. The cabin buzzed with frightened murmurs, and somewhere near the back, a baby began to cry. The intercom crackled again, the same trembling voice repeating, "If anyone knows how to fly, please come forward immediately." That was enough. Emma stepped toward the front, her legs trembling but moving on instinct. The senior flight attendant, a woman in her late 40s with a name tag that read, met her halfway. Her face was pale, her eyes wet and red. Do you have flight experience?" she asked breathlessly. Emma swallowed hard. "A little small planes, it's been years." Grabbed her hand like it was a lifeline. "That's better than nothing." She turned toward the other attendants. "Clear the aisle." Passengers pulled their legs in as Emma walked past, some whispering prayers, others just staring. Every eye followed her as she moved closer to the cockpit. Her heart pounded, every beat echoing in her ears like thunder. As she reached the doorway, she saw them, the two pilots. Both men were slumped over their controls, motionless. Oxygen masks dangled uselessly from the ceiling. The younger co-pilot's head rested on his shoulder, a faint bruise on his temple from where he'd hit the console. The captain's hand was still gripping the yoke, knuckles white, face gray and drenched in sweat. Emma froze. "Oh my God." His voice broke behind her. "They just collapsed, both of them." The captain called for help over the radio before he lost consciousness. Emma forced herself to breathe. "Are they alive?" "Barely. We've got a nurse tending to them now, but they're not waking up." Emma felt her throat tighten. The cockpit was smaller than she remembered from her father's days, but so much more complicated. Buttons, screens, switches, glowing indicators, an orchestra of systems she barely recognized. It was overwhelming. Still, her hands knew where to go. She slid into the captain's seat, trembling. Okay, she whispered, staring at the panel. "Attitude indicator, altimeter, autopilot." The radio crackled suddenly, a voice from the ground cutting through the panic. "This is Seattle Center calling Flight 417. Who's in command of the aircraft?" Emma's hand hovered over the transmitter. She pressed the button, voice shaky. This is Emma Blake. I'm a passenger. Both pilots are down." A pause, then the voice calm and deliberate. "Copy that, Flight 417. Miss Blake, do you have any flight experience?" "Small planes only," she replied, her voice barely steady. "Never anything like this." "Understood. We're going to help you, Miss Blake. First, can you confirm the aircraft is on autopilot?" Emma scanned the panel. Her eyes darted over switches, labels blurring together. Then she spotted it. AP engaged glowed green. Relief flooded her chest. "Yes, autopilot on." "Good, that means the plane is stable for now. I need you to stay calm, Miss Blake. You're not alone, okay?" She nodded even though no one could see her. "Okay," she whispered. Behind her clutched the door frame. "You're doing great, just keep talking to them." Emma's hands rested on the controls, fingers trembling. "Seattle Center, what happened to them? The pilots, why did they just—" "We don't know yet," came the response. "We're dispatching emergency crews to your destination. Right now, you need to focus on keeping that aircraft steady. You can do this." Emma's mind raced. The passengers behind her were depending on her, people with families, children, lives waiting for them on the ground. The weight of it hit her all at once, like 1,000 pounds pressing against her chest. She looked at the motionless men beside her. The captain's hand still clung to the yoke as though unwilling to let go. Emma gently lifted it free. "I've got it now," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "Seattle Center," she said into the mic, her voice steadier now. "I'm at the controls." "Roger that, Miss Blake. We're with you all the way." She closed her eyes for a moment and saw her father's face in her mind, smiling in the sunlight at the small airfield in Spokane, teaching her to fly when she was just 16. "Remember," he'd said, Planes don't care about fear. They care about control. Keep your hands steady, your heart calm, and trust your instruments. Emma opened her eyes, staring out through the windshield into the endless ocean of clouds ahead. The storm was still far away, but she could see the dark edges of it brewing on the horizon. "Okay," she whispered, gripping the yoke gently. "Let's see if I still remember how to fly." The cabin was silent except for the soft hum of the engines and the faint sound of muffled crying. Passengers clutched armrests, eyes darting toward the cockpit door that now stood half open. Every whisper carried the same question: who's flying the plane? Emma's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to steady her breathing. The headset felt heavy over her ears, her palms slick with sweat. The radio hissed, then a voice spoke again, calm but commanding. "Flight 417, Seattle Center here. Miss Blake, what's your current altitude?" Emma squinted at the panel. 33,000 feet, she answered. "Copy that. You're holding level. The autopilot's keeping you stable. You're doing fine." Fine? The word barely made sense. She was sitting in a captain's seat, surrounded by buttons and glowing screens, while two unconscious pilots lay beside her. This wasn't fine, but she didn't have time to fall apart. "Seattle Center," she said, trying to sound confident. "What do I need to do next?" "For now, stay on course," the controller replied. "We'll vector you towards Chicago and get an instructor to guide you step by step. We're with you the whole way." Emma exhaled slowly. "Copy that." Behind her hovered anxiously. "Do you need anything? Water? A towel?" Emma shook her head. "Just keep everyone calm back there. Don't let them know how bad it is." Hesitated. "They already know, sweetheart, but I'll try." As the flight attendant slipped back through the curtain, Emma glanced toward the reflection in the glass, her own face pale, eyes wide, terrified yet somehow determined. She thought about her father again, that summer she'd learned to fly. He sat beside her in the rickety old, his hand barely touching the yoke as she practiced takeoffs. "Confidence, Em," he'd said. "You don't wrestle with a plane, you guide it." The memory gave her something to hold on to. The radio crackled once more. "Miss Blake, this is Captain Rhodes. I'm a flight instructor assisting from the ground. I'll talk you through the systems, okay?" Emma blinked, startled by the warm, steady voice. "Captain Rhodes, copy that. I could use all the help I can get." "Good. First, I need you to confirm your autopilot settings. Look for the control panel in front of you. See the vertical speed knob." Her eyes scanned the instruments. "Yes, it's showing 0. "Perfect. That means you're level. Now check your heading indicator. Should read 080. She nodded, confirmed. "Excellent. You're holding the correct route. You're a natural, Miss Blake." She gave a shaky laugh. "Don't say that yet. I haven't crashed us, yet." He chuckled softly over the headset. "Keep that humor, it helps." Emma gripped the yoke, staring out at the horizon. The clouds had thickened ahead, darkening the blue sky into a stormy gray. Lightning flickered in the distance like silent warning signs. "Seattle Center, I'm seeing weather ahead," she reported. "Affirmative, Flight 417, Rhodes answered. "We're rerouting you slightly south to avoid turbulence. Adjust heading to 090. Emma reached for the heading dial and turned it carefully. The plane shifted gently, the movement so smooth it almost felt like the aircraft itself trusted her. In the cabin, passengers felt the change. Heads turned. Someone whispered, "Is she really flying this thing?" A young boy pressed his face against the seat to glimpse forward. "Mom," he whispered, "the lady from 7C is flying." Emma didn't hear them, but if she had, she wouldn't have believed it herself. She was running on pure instinct, every motion guided by memory, every word from Rhodes absorbed like oxygen. "Doing great," Rhodes said through the headset. "Tell me about your fuel gauge." She located it on the lower panel. "Look steady, 4 hours left, give or take." "Good, we'll have you down long before that." Emma glanced at the unconscious pilots again, the rhythmic beeping of the oxygen monitor the only sign of life. "What if they don't wake up?" she whispered. A pause, then Rhodes said gently, "Focus on one thing at a time, Emma. First, you keep them alive, the rest we'll handle later." She swallowed hard, understood. Outside the window, the clouds began to shift, revealing streaks of gold sunlight breaking through. For a fleeting second, Emma let herself breathe, feeling a spark of hope. But then ding! The warning alarm blared suddenly, flashing red across the control panel. Emma's pulse spiked. "Seattle Center, I've got a warning light, autopilot disengaged." "Roger that," Rhodes replied, voice tightening. "Stay calm, Miss Blake. You're flying now. Take the controls gently." Emma gripped the yoke, heart racing. The plane dipped slightly, passengers gasping in unison. She fought the instinct to pull too hard. "Come on, steady," she muttered. "Attitude, airspeed, altitude," Rhodes repeated calmly. "You've got this." The horizon leveled out again. The alarms faded. Emma's chest heaved, sweat trickling down her temple. Autopilot off, manual control established. "Copy that," Rhodes said, a hint of pride in his tone. "You're flying, Miss Blake." For the first time since it all began, Emma realized it was true. She wasn't just reacting anymore, she was flying. The sky was turning violent. Clouds thickened ahead, swelling into monstrous shapes that flashed with lightning. The turbulence began as a light tremor, then grew into a shaking that rattled every panel of the cockpit. Emma's hands tightened around the yoke. Her knuckles were white, her heart beat louder than the engine roar. "Seattle Center, we've hit turbulence," she shouted into the headset. "Copy that, Flight 417, Captain Rhodes responded. His voice was calm, the kind of calm born from decades in the sky. "You need to keep her steady, Emma. Reduce throttle by 5% and keep your nose level." "Throttle down, copy," Emma said, her voice trembling. She eased the lever back just as a gust hit from the left, jerking the plane sideways. The passengers screamed. Oxygen masks swung violently above the aisles. "Counter it gently," Rhodes said. "Don't fight the wind, ride it." Emma corrected, guiding the yoke left, then back to center, the plane wobbling before settling. Her breath came fast, but she forced herself to focus. Altitude, attitude, airspeed. Her father's old mantra played in her mind like a heartbeat. In the cabin, clutched the intercom. "Ladies, and please remain seated and keep your fastened," she said, voice cracking but steady. "Everything under control." But her eyes betrayed the truth, nothing was. Emma glanced at the co-pilot, his chest still faintly rising and falling. The medical volunteer knelt beside him, shaking her head. "They're still out cold," she whispered. "Just hang on," Emma murmured. "We'll get you all down." Another jolt slammed the plane upward. The altimeter needle swung wildly. "We're losing altitude," Emma started. "Not yet," Rhodes interrupted sharply. "Pull up 2 degrees, just 2, small movements." Emma obeyed, adjusting delicately. The nose lifted, the shaking eased slightly. "You're doing great," Rhodes said. "You've got her flying clean through the storm, just hold it there." Emma let out a shaky laugh. "I wish you could see my hands right now." "I can hear them," Rhodes replied. "They're steady enough." Lightning flashed so close it lit the cockpit like daylight, followed by a deafening crack of thunder. Emma flinched but didn't lose focus. The instruments flickered, the autopilot lights still dead. "Seattle Center, this storm's too rough," she said. "Visibility's dropping fast." "Understood," Rhodes replied. "We're tracking you on radar. You're going to push through the edge of it in 10 minutes. Can you hold on?" She looked out the windshield. The world was gray and electric, rain streaking like bullets across the glass. "No choice," she said. "We're in this." Minutes stretched like hours. Each second was a test of her focus, her nerve, her faith. The yoke vibrated in her hands, the plane pitching and yawing as wind tore at its wings. Somewhere behind her, a man shouted a prayer aloud. "Emma," Rhodes said suddenly. Listen to me. You're doing what most trained pilots couldn't under these conditions. Keep your airspeed between 270 and 280. That'll keep you from stalling. Copy that, she replied, scanning the instruments. The speed wavered 278, 282, 276, trying to keep her balanced. You are keeping her balanced, Rhodes said firmly. Trust yourself. His confidence steadied her more than any checklist ever could. The storm began to thin, sunlight piercing through cracks in the clouds like golden arrows. The violent shaking eased to a soft tremor. Emma exhaled a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. We're through it, she said quietly. Outstanding work, Rhodes said. Now let's talk about your descent. Descent, her heart skipped. Already. You've been airborne for almost an hour since the emergency call, he said. Chicago's ready for you. We'll bring you down slow and steady. But first, how are you holding up? Emma looked at her trembling hands, then out at the calm horizon beyond the dissipating storm. I'm scared out of my mind, she admitted. Good, Rhodes said. Means you respect the sky. Fear keeps you sharp. She almost smiled. My dad used to say that. He was a pilot. Yeah, he taught me everything I know. I just never thought I'd need it again. Well, Emma, Rhodes said softly, today you're proving him right. A silence followed, an almost sacred stillness as the sun broke through the clouds and the ocean of blue returned. The storm was behind them. Emma's reflection in the windshield looked different now, still frightened, but no longer powerless. Seattle Center, she said into the headset, voice steady this time. This is Emma Blake, Flight 417, ready for descent procedures. Copy that, Flight 417, Rhodes replied. Let's bring you home. For a few fleeting minutes the sky seemed peaceful again. The clouds drifted apart, sunlight washed the cabin in gold, and the passengers began whispering, half in disbelief, half in prayer. Emma allowed herself one deep breath, savoring the calm that followed chaos. Then the console lights flickered. It was faint at first, barely noticeable. But then the red warning indicator flared like an angry eye. The autopilot, still disengaged, wasn't the problem now. Something deeper was wrong. Seattle Center, I've got a caution light blinking. Looks like hydraulics. Emma's voice cracked through the headset. Captain Rhodes responded immediately. Copy that, Flight 417. Which system? She scanned the panel. Looks like secondary hydraulics pressure is dropping. That controls your flaps and landing gear, Rhodes said gravely. Keep your hands steady and your airspeed up. We'll troubleshoot together. Emma's pulse spiked. The storm she just escaped seemed to be chasing her, lightning flashing again on the horizon. How bad is it? Not fatal, Rhodes assured her. You can still land manually, but it'll take precision. Great, she muttered, trying to mask her fear. I've got just enough precision to make toast. Don't sell yourself short, Miss Blake, Rhodes said with quiet encouragement. You've gotten a 737 through a thunderstorm. That's something most flight cadets only dream about. But the turbulence returned, stronger this time, like the storm refused to let her go. The plane shook violently. The horizon tilted and alarms wailed again. Passengers screamed as luggage crashed from overhead bins. Emma fought the controls. We're losing altitude again. Pull back 2 degrees, Rhodes ordered calmly. You've got to keep your pitch positive. Her muscles burned. She could feel the yoke pushing against her like it had a mind of its own. Her body screamed for rest, but she forced her hands to stay firm. The plane steadied, but barely. Good correction, Rhodes said. Now I'm going to give you a heading change to get you away from that cell. Turn 10 degrees south. Emma's eyes darted to the compass. Copy, turning 10 south. She nudged the yoke and adjusted the rudder pedals. The nose of the plane shifted through the clouds, slicing between 2 dark towers of thunderheads. Rain pounded against the windshield, blurring everything. She couldn't see the horizon anymore, only flashes of lightning in an endless sea of gray. Her breath quickened. "I can't see anything, Captain. Not the ground, not the sky." "Then trust your instruments," Rhodes said firmly. "They're your eyes now." She focused on the artificial horizon display. The tiny blue and brown halves stayed level. Her father's voice echoed again in memory. "When the storm blinds you, Emma, the instruments won't." "I've got it," she whispered, clinging to that memory. The radio crackled, another voice joining in. "Flight 417, this is Chicago Approach Control. We're tracking you on radar and clearing all airspace ahead. Your priority one. You're doing incredible, ma'am." Emma couldn't help but laugh, part nerves, part disbelief. "Thanks, let's just keep it that way." "Chicago's got clear weather," Rhodes said. "If you can hold her steady another 30 minutes, we'll start your descent." Her arms ached from gripping the yoke, but she refused to let go. Each second felt like a battle between exhaustion and willpower. Then another sound, a low, mechanical groan beneath her feet. The plane vibrated oddly. "I'm hearing a noise from the undercarriage," she said. "Could be wind through the gear bay," Rhodes answered quickly. "Don't worry about that right now. Just monitor your speed." "Speed steady at 275, she replied, her voice calmer now. "Good," he said softly. "You're in control." Outside, the storm began to fade again. The rain thinned into mist, sunlight glowing faintly through the breaks. Emma's eyes stung from focus and fatigue, but she allowed herself a small smile. "Seattle Center," she said, voice softer now. "I never thought I'd be up here again. My dad used to tell me the sky tests who you are. I guess he was right." Rhodes chuckled. "The sky doesn't test you, Miss Blake, it reveals you. And right now it's revealing one hell of a pilot." Emma looked out at the softening clouds, the world calming after fury. Below her, the Rockies stretched like silent guardians. She felt, for the first time, a strange peace, a connection between terror and trust. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me yet," Rhodes replied. "We've still got to land her." Emma smiled faintly, hands steady now on the yoke. "Then let's bring her home." Rockies faded behind them, replaced by endless plains and streaks of gold sunlight breaking through clouds. The worst of the storm was gone, but Emma knew the hardest part hadn't even begun. Landing the plane would be a different kind of battle. Captain Rhodes's voice came steady through the headset. "All right, Flight 417, let's start prepping for descent. You've done incredible so far, Emma. Just follow my lead, one step at a time." Her throat felt dry. "Copy that, beginning descent." She reached for the throttle, her fingers trembling. Every control felt heavier now, her muscles sore from holding tension for so long. She eased the power back slightly, and the engines responded with a low, obedient hum. "Good," Rhodes said. "Keep your nose 5 degrees down, bring your altitude to 25,000. The altimeter needle began to dip. Outside, the clouds were thinning, patches of blue peeking through like fragile hope. For the first time, she saw sunlight reflecting off the wing, streaked with ice and storm residue. In the cabin, the passengers were whispering again. A child's cry broke the stillness, followed by soft murmurs of reassurance. The woman from earlier, the one who had prayed out loud, was now clutching a rosary, tears streaking her cheeks. Emma didn't dare look back. "How far to Chicago?" "About 80 miles, Rhodes replied. "You'll start seeing the skyline soon." 80 miles. Just 80 miles between survival and disaster. Her mind wandered for a moment back to her father's hangar in Florida. She could almost smell the jet fuel, the grease, the ocean wind. He had once stood behind her as she practiced on a simulator. "Remember, Emma," he'd said, "anyone can take off. It's landing that makes you a pilot." She swallowed hard. "Copy, Captain, adjusting heading for Chicago." The radio cracked. "Flight 417, this is Chicago approach. You are cleared for emergency priority landing. Runway 27L ground teams are ready. Fire and rescue are standing by. Emma closed her eyes briefly. Copy, approach. Runway 27L confirmed. Her voice trembled, but it carried conviction. The cabin crew exchanged glances, realizing just how close they were to home. Rhodes broke the silence. You're about to begin the final descent. I'm going to walk you through gear and flaps deployment. You'll need to do it manually since your hydraulics are unstable. Emma's heart pounded. Manual deployment, got it. Let's start with flaps 1. She reached for the lever. The mechanism responded sluggishly, metal grinding faintly beneath the cockpit floor. A red light blinked, partial deployment. Only one side's responding, she said through gritted teeth. Okay, Rhodes said calmly. We'll compensate with rudder, adjust 2 degrees right. She pressed the pedal lightly, feeling the plane's slight yaw correct itself. Her focus sharpened, fear melted into fierce concentration. Now gear down, Rhodes instructed. She flipped the switch. A second passed, then another, nothing. Gear isn't responding, she said, her voice rising. No green indicators. Don't panic, Rhodes said quickly. Pump the emergency lever beside your left leg. Emma pulled it, hard. A heavy metallic thud vibrated through the plane, followed by a faint click. Then 3 green lights glowed. Gear down and locked, she said, exhaling shakily. Outstanding, Rhodes replied. You're doing perfectly. Maintain your current heading. Outside, the ground was visible now, patches of farmland, rivers, and distant highways weaving through. The sun had fully emerged, painting the horizon orange. For everyone on board, it looked like hope. In the cabin, the passengers started clapping softly, one by one, when they realized they were descending toward safety. Emma couldn't hear them, but she felt the shift in the air. Her hands trembled again, not from fear but emotion. Captain, she said quietly. Go ahead. I haven't flown anything since my dad died. I quit flight school after his crash. I thought I'd never come back to this. There was a long silence before Rhodes replied. Then maybe this is your way back, Emma. Maybe today isn't just about survival, it's about redemption. She blinked back tears. Let's just land this thing first. Copy that, he said, a smile in his voice. Flaps full when ready. Flaps full, she repeated, pushing the lever once more. The plane began to slow, the engines reducing to a whisper. Chicago's skyline was visible now, a cluster of glittering buildings bathed in golden light. Our airport stretched beyond, runways gleaming like lifelines. Approach control, this is Flight 417, Emma announced, preparing for final approach. Roger that, Flight 417. Winds calm, runway clear, you're cleared to land. Rhodes's tone grew firm. This is it, Emma, keep her steady, you've come this far, now finish it. She tightened her grip, her heartbeat syncing with the plane's rhythm. Every second felt like a lifetime. Here we go, she whispered, eyes locked on the runway ahead. The runway stretched ahead, long and silver beneath the fading sun. From 20,000 feet it looked peaceful, like salvation itself. But Emma knew it was anything but. Landing a half-disabled 737 with partial hydraulics and shaky flaps would test even a veteran pilot. Approach speed 250, Rhodes instructed, calm but alert. You'll want to start reducing power soon. Copy that, Emma replied, her voice tight. She eased back the throttles. The plane's nose dipped slightly, and she adjusted with the yoke, every motion deliberate and slow. The cabin was silent now. No one moved, no one spoke. Every passenger understood that the next few minutes would decide everything. Altitude 12,000, Rhodes guided. Gear confirmed down, you're looking solid, Emma. Her breathing steadied. Flaps full, speed at 220. Beautiful, you're lined up perfectly with 27L. Through the windshield, she could see the faint outlines of fire trucks and emergency crews waiting beside the runway, tiny red dots growing larger by the second. It didn't calm her nerves. It reminded her how real this was. "Captain," she said, barely above a whisper, "what if the brakes don't hold?" "Then we use reverse thrust and drag," Rhodes answered evenly. "You've already beaten the odds, Emma. You'll get her down." Her hands clenched around the yoke. The memory of her father flashed again, his confident smile, his voice steady over the roar of engines. "The sky always gives you a choice, Em, panic or fly." "Okay," she murmured, "let's fly." At 10,000 feet, the city came alive beneath her. Chicago glittered under twilight, highways threading like veins of light. The plane began its long, graceful descent, but every bump sent her heart racing. "Winds shifting from the northwest," Rhodes warned. "Adjust 2 degrees left." She followed instantly. 2 left adjusted. "Good correction," he said. "You're steady, that's pilot work right there." A faint smile tugged at her lips, but it faded when another warning tone blared. "Hydraulic pressure critical," she read aloud. "Ignore it," Rhodes ordered firmly. "You're too close for system errors. Keep focus on the horizon." She exhaled, long and slow. The plane was shaking again, not violently, but enough to make her question every move. The wind buffeted the wings, pulling slightly right. She countered with a gentle nudge of the rudder. The control tower came through. "Flight 417, you're clear to land. Winds 8 knots northwest. Runway's yours." "Roger that," Emma said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her veins. "Here we go," Rhodes murmured in her ear. "Drop to 3,000, keep your rate steady." The runway lights now filled the cockpit windows, glowing brighter closer. The aircraft roared downward, slicing through layers of cloud. "Speed 180, she called out. "Looking good. Don't chase the center line, let it come to you." "Copy." A soft beeping filled the cockpit altitude warning. 1,000 feet, she announced. "Flare at 50, Rhodes reminded her. "Small pullback, don't." Her entire body tensed. The runway expanded in front of her eyes, a river of light rushing up fast. She could almost feel every passenger holding their breath. 500 feet. "Steady," Rhodes said. 300. Almost there. Her fingers ached from gripping the yoke. Sweat trickled down her temple. 200. "Ease back just a hair." "Copy." 50 feet, flare now. Emma gently pulled back. The nose lifted slightly. The ground rose to meet them. The tires screeched, rubber hitting concrete, and the plane bounced once before settling with a deep, bone-shaking thud. "We're down," she cried. "Reverse thrust," Rhodes barked. She slammed the controls. The engines roared backward, the cabin vibrating like thunder. The plane barreled down the runway, slowing inch by inch. Emergency vehicles raced alongside them, lights flashing red and white. "Come on," Emma whispered, "come on." Finally, after what felt like forever, the aircraft slowed to a crawl. The nose dipped gently forward. The roar faded into silence. "You did it," Rhodes said softly. "Flight 417 is on the ground." Her hands fell away from the yoke. Her whole body trembled. The passengers erupted in cheers, sobbing, clapping, laughing all at once. Emma leaned back, tears streaking her face. "Captain, I actually did it." "You more than did it," Rhodes replied. "You saved them." For a long moment she just sat there, listening to the sound of relief echoing through the cabin, the clatter of the shaky laughter, the whispers of gratitude. Outside, the fire trucks surrounded the aircraft, lights reflecting off the windows. The sun had dipped below the skyline, leaving the world painted in gold and blue. Emma closed her eyes and whispered to the empty co-pilot's seat beside her, "We made it, Dad." The wheels had stopped turning, but Emma's heart hadn't. The silence after the landing was louder than the storm had ever been. Passengers clapped, cried, and prayed, each one realizing how close they had come to never touching ground again. Outside, emergency crews circled the aircraft like guardians. Flashing lights painted the tarmac red and gold, illuminating the stunned faces pressed to the windows. Emma sat frozen in the cockpit, hands still trembling over the controls. Her headset was half off, her breath coming in uneven waves. She couldn't tell if she was exhausted, overwhelmed, or simply afraid to believe it was over. Then the radio crackled softly. Flight 417, welcome home. Captain Rhodes's voice broke the last thread of tension inside her. She laughed through tears, covering her face with both hands. Home, she whispered, the word foreign yet beautiful. Ground control, sending a tug, Rhodes said gently. You can relax now, Miss Blake. You've done more than anyone could ask. The cabin door opened minutes later. First responders poured in, led by paramedics and airfield officers. The passengers stood to applaud her, shouting thank you. And she saved us. As Emma was guided from the cockpit, cameras flashed from the terminal windows outside. One woman, the same who had been praying during the flight, grabbed Emma's hands and kissed them. You're an angel, sweetheart, she said, voice trembling. You're why I get to see my grandkids again. Emma smiled weakly. I'm just glad we made it down. But deep inside, something heavier stirred. Relief mixed with guilt, pride tangled with disbelief. The last time she'd flown a plane, it had ended in tragedy. This time, it had ended in salvation. By the time she stepped off the aircraft, the runway had become a sea of flashing lights and microphones. Reporters shouted her name, cameras swarming as if she were a movie hero. Miss Blake, is it true you're not a licensed pilot? How did you manage to land a 737? Are you the daughter of Captain William Blake, the crash of Flight 982? That last question froze her in place. Her father's name, spoken aloud for the first time in years, cut through the noise. She turned toward the reporter, eyes glassy. Yes, she said quietly, he was my father. The reporter lowered his microphone, visibly moved. He'd be proud. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. I hope so. Hours later, after the chaos subsided, she found herself in a quiet airport lounge, sipping lukewarm coffee. Her hands still shook when she lifted the cup. The adrenaline was gone now, replaced by the heavy weight of realization. Then the phone beside her buzzed, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered, Hello. Miss Blake, it was Captain Rhodes, his voice calmer now but still steady as ever. I just wanted to say you did what most pilots dream of. You didn't just fly, you commanded. Emma smiled faintly. I couldn't have done it without you. You could, Rhodes said. You just needed someone to remind you. She hesitated. Captain, why me? Why call out to the passengers? You couldn't have known I could fly. Rhodes chuckled softly. Truth is, I didn't, but I saw your name on the manifest before the flight. Seat 7C, Emma Blake. I remembered the name. Your father trained with me 20 years ago. I figured if anyone on that plane had even a chance. Her breath caught. You knew my dad. I did, he said quietly. He used to talk about you, said you were born for the sky. Tears blurred her vision. He was right about one thing, she whispered. The sky never really lets go. There was a long pause, filled only by the hum of static. Emma, Rhodes said finally, when you're ready, the Academy would be lucky to have you back. Pilots like you don't come around often. She looked out the window. The dawn was breaking over the runway, the light spilling across the tarmac where her plane, still sat. I think I'll take you up on that, she said softly. Rhodes smiled on the other end. Good, because the sky has been waiting for its phoenix. Emma ended the call, gazing at the horizon. Her reflection shimmered faintly on the glass, stronger now, steadier. Somewhere, she imagined her father smiling, proud. The world would remember the story of Flight 417, the woman in Seat 7C who woke up to save hundreds when fate called her name. But to Emma Blake, it was simpler than that. She hadn't just landed a plane. She had found her way home,